Welcome everybody to the meeting of May 12th, 2025. Bienvenue tout le monde à la rencontre du 12 mai 2025. Est-ce qu'on peut commencer, s'il vous plaît?
Oui, bonjour. Pardon, bonjour. Alors, je confirme que nous avons tous les membres du Conseil, donc nous avons quorum. Nous pouvons commencer avec les additions et modifications. Est-ce qu'il y a des ajouts à l'ordre du jour?
Yeah, I'd like to add, I have a question about the North Glengarry BESS, or the battery storage system, just for Chief Rousseau.
Excellent. So that would be under item 14.1.
OK. Puis, est-ce qu'on doit mentionner la modification de Yala huis clos en partant?
Non, c'est pas à l'ordre du jour, mais on peut le mentionner qu'on va commencer avec le huis clos ce soir.
OK, vite fait. OK. Donc, on va adopter l'agenda.
Parfait. Alors, qu'il soit résolu que l'ordre du jour soit accepté, incluant les modifications apportées séance tenante le cas échéant, proposées par...
Oui. M. Fogg et Mme Delallais. Tous d'accord? Parfait. Est-ce qu'il y a des intérêts pécuniaires? Aucun à noter? OK.
Parfait. Alors, je vais procéder au huis clos. Ça va prendre juste un petit instant.
We're going to go into closed session. We just have to accommodate an employee.
Okay.
Alors, qu'il soit résolu que la présente assemblée soit ajournée à 16h32 pour une session à huis clos conformément aux sections suivantes de la loi municipale de 2001, la section 239.2b, renseignement privé, E, litige actuel ou éventuel, K, position, projet, ligne conduite ou normes ou instructions observées par la municipalité dans le cadre d'une négociation actuelle ou éventuelle. Proposé par
M. Stewart et M. Mainville. Tous d'accord? OK, we're good.
Oui, je vais lui mettre en huis clos juste un instant.
OK. Donc, on peut y aller à... on a quelqu'un qui veut faire une présentation à cette heure-ci?
Je crois qu'il y en a un à 5 heures.
À
Je ne suis pas
5 heures.
certaine si la personne est arrivée, par contre. Je l'ai
OK.
laissé rentrer.
OK.
Ah oui, je fais ça. Pardon, merci. Qu'il soit résolu que la présente assemblée soit rouverte à 16h49, proposé par...
Monsieur Lalonde, Monsieur Mainville. Tous d'accord? OK. Maintenant, on est rendu dans les consent items. Is there anything that wants to be brought out? Est-ce qu'on a un sujet qu'on veut jaser? On le sort de les items de consentement? OK. Il n'y en a aucun. Fait qu'on peut continuer.
Alors, qu'il soit résolu que tous les items énumérés sous 7 items par consentement soient reçus et approuvés tels que présentés, proposé par,
Oui.
Monsieur Fogg,
appuyé par.
Monsieur Stewart. Tous d'accord?
Parfait.
Là, à ce moment-là, c'est quel sujet qu'on veut? On a 10 minutes, là, à peu près, right?
Est-ce que M. Pigeon, vous avez assez pour avec 10 minutes ou juste un peu plus? OK.
Ouais.
Alors, on peut passer peut-être pour...
On peut-tu y aller à 8.3?
Oui.
OK. 8.3?
les update of council remuneration and expenses bylaw.
Okay, so I had we'll open up the topic there, but do you have comments or?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This was just a report I'm bringing forward in regards to remuneration expenses bylaw. It was just to standardize the practice. We, as you see in the comparison incidentals, you see how else it's équilibré à travers des comtés unis. So, c'était juste pour mettre ça en place. On n'a pas regardé les salaires du tout. On n'a pas comparé les salaires. C'était juste vraiment les morceaux in regards to the per diems, the meals, and looking to try and standardize that as a appropriate formula. So, I'm open for questions or comments.
Yeah, I think we had a quick conversation there. It was about the meetings. I mean, this is what we're going to open up to the floor here. Le $106 par meeting, là, je sais qu'il y avait un temps que je pense que là, assez de temps, même avant moi, je pense qu'il y avait des meetings qui étaient payés, mais là, on a enlevé ça parce que dans le temps, on avait monté les salaires un peu plus pour avoir une réflexion de ne pas avoir les rencontres payées. Fait que ça, je pense que on devrait continuer dans ce même ligne-là. Là. Je sais pas si...
Ouais, moi aussi, on en a un peu discuté, mais moi aussi, c'était ça, tu sais, comme en appliquant pour être conseillère, je savais que c'était aussi mon intention d'être encore plus qu'avant, même impliquée dans certains comités, des choses comme ça. Fait que pour moi, je pense que ça venait juste avec l'application pour devenir conseillère, que I would be more involved, I would be the liaison between these community group and then what they do. I know we understand it's not for every community group. We talk about the 106, but for me, like these committee, most of the people that are sitting there are all volunteers. It would feel absolutely wrong to me to be paid to be sitting with them and making my community better by being part of these meetings. So for me, that would be a straight no for the 106. I feel like it's that's what I signed up for, and I like doing it. So that's just for me. But I'll let you guys say what you think as well. But
Again, that's a reflection of the
100%.
the spirit of what we did when we did this.
Mm-hmm.
C'est parce que le volontaire qui vient aux mêmes rencontres qui n'est pas payé, puis toi, tu es assis là,
Ouais.
tu es payé, c'est pas tout à fait... I have an issue with that.
I do too.
And I think when we discussed it back then, this is that was the spirit of it, was that, so if we can strike that out of the report, the 106, just remove that from our...
Yeah, we'll absolutely be able to do that. What we'll
Right.
do is we can do this as we'll bring it back at the following meeting. So any changes you would like to see, we can make note tonight, and we'll come back at the May 26th meeting with
Right.
a cleaned up version.
Puis le restant du rapport, d'après moi, c'est A1, là, j'ai aucun problème avec le restant. C'est juste vraiment les rencontres. Là. That's the only thing. That was my comment. Any other comments or any other... Tout est correct?
So
Okay.
I'll defer the item in that case.
OK. Super. Merci, M. Leroux. OK. So now, il nous reste 6 minutes. On a-tu d'autres choses qu'on peut couvrir en attendant?
Monsieur le maire?
Oui.
8.4, the business travel expenses reimbursement policy, that was just so that the employee one lines up with the council one that we were just talking about. And the vehicle use policy, again, similar. So if there's any questions on that, that might be a couple that are easy to go through.
Right. Questions, comments? Y a-tu des commentaires sur celui-là?
S'il y a une réunion, disons à Toronto ou ben non, n'importe quoi, ça couvre les transports que nous autres, on va à Toronto?
Mhm.
J'ai bien compris ça?
C'est ça.
Ouais, c'est ça.
Oui, dans la politique qu'on diffère au mai 26, oui, toutes ces dépenses-là sont couvertes dans la politique.
C'est pas mal standard. Je pense que si tu regardes, là, c'est pas rien que nous autres, c'est tous les autres conseils, puis même les autres organisations comme les conseils d'école, c'est la même affaire. Fait que... OK. Fait que
J'ai
je
une
pense qu'on...
résolution pour ça.
OK.
Parce que je voyais voyage en avion ou en train non couvert. C'est pour ça que...
Non couvert, je pense que c'est tout couvert.
Je pense que la partie qu'on parlait de non couvert, je ne l'ai pas ouvert, là, mais je pense que c'est plutôt quand c'est un membre du conseil ou du staff, they want to go first class sur un avion, ben ça n'arrive pas. Si le membre du conseil veut payer ou le staff member veut payer la différence, ça c'est correct. But we're just reimbursing the standard unless it's for rail. Sometimes there's a slight difference, but it includes the meal, so it's worthwhile going with the business class versus the standard class because that's a small difference. But otherwise, like we were not talking first class flights here.
OK.
Qu'il soit résolu que le Conseil approuve la politique de remboursement des frais de déplacement pour affaires des employés. Oh, excusez-moi, pardon.
Les hébergements aussi, c'est écrit ça.
Oui, je pense qu'il... Monsieur m'avait fait référence à la page 2 de 3.
Quelle politique exactement?
La politique, attends un instant.
Sur la conduite sécuritaire lors du déplacement professionnel. Section 15. C'est ça.
Safe Driving Business Travel Policy, Section 15.
Ouais, FIN 10 2025, page 3. Est-ce qu'il y a un tableau avec 3 colonnes?
Mm-hmm.
Puis la deuxième colonne, c'est d'où elle vient, c'est ça, je pense qu'on...
Ah, excuse. Ça, c'est à cause... Ça, le tableau, ça fait référence où que dans dans celui original, il faisait pas référence à ça. C'était pas inclus dans la politique originale.
Got it, okay.
Là, il fait dire que là, on est en train
le
de
couvre.
l'inclure dans la nouvelle
It'll be like
politique pour
not
clarifier.
included or-
C'est pas que ça dit pas que c'était pas inclus, ça dit que c'était pas clair dans la politique originale.
Comme
Là, on
pas
est en-
présente dans la politique, dans le fond.
C'est ça, c'était
Not
pas
present would have
spécifique.
been- okay.
Oui.
Got it. Thank you.
Alors, qu'il soit résolu que le Conseil approuve la politique de remboursement des frais de déplacement pour affaires des employés, POL FIN 02-2025 ci-jointe, remplaçant la section 15 de l'ancienne politique de déplacement professionnel sécuritaire en ce qui concerne les employés. Proposé par...
Madame Delolaire, M. Mainville, tous d'accord? OK, parfait. On a 2 minutes, je pense, de vehicle use, là.
Oui,
On peut le
c'est
passer, là,
pas mal la
c'est
même
la même
chose.
affaire, là.
Sauf celle-ci abroge complètement la vieille politique. Fait que
Mhm.
Je vais vous lire la résolution. Qu'il soit résolu que le Conseil accuse réception de la nouvelle politique sur l'utilisation des véhicules POL AD 02-2025. Qu'il soit également résolu que la politique sur l'utilisation des véhicules soit classée comme un document opérationnel relevant de la supervision du directeur général. Il est en outre résolu que le Conseil conserve le droit de demander une révision ou une mise à jour du document en tout temps. Qu'il soit également résolu que la politique sur l'utilisation des véhicules, l'original, le TRF 2019-01, soit abrogée. Est-ce qu'il y avait des commentaires ou des questions avant le proposeur appuyeur?
OK?
Non.
Bon, ben,
Alors, proposé par?
M. Fogg, M. Mainville, tous d'accord? Everybody's good? OK, good. OK, Okay, so it's 5 o'clock now. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, just a quick question pour la graphière, Madame Roy. Since the only change to the council remuneration is only the committee meeting, could we just make an amendment to the resolution and pass it this evening?
I could say that it's approved as amended, and then we'll reprint it tonight without that clause. But it's up to you if you want me to bring it back.
I think we're
It's up to
comfortable.
council.
I think we're comfortable passing it, I think nothing really changes. Oui, on le fait.
OK, on va pouvoir faire
OK.
ça. Aucun problème. Je ne sais pas si la personne pour la présentation est arrivée. Pas encore. OK. Voulez-vous commencer avec le sujet de M. Pigeon dans ce cas-là?
Oui.
Puis la personne n'est pas arrivée.
Absolument. OK, Monsieur Pigeon.
Bonsoir.
Sounds serious.
Donc, mon rapport à 8.1 porte sur le master plan d'eau de Saint-Isidore. En gros, un master plan, c'est vraiment des projets d'infrastructure par rapport à la croissance en population. À Saint-Isidore, on a fait le master plan pour la projection du prochain 20 ans. Comme vous savez, l'eau de Saint-Isidore provient du plan d'eau à Lefebvre. Donc, on s'est mis conjointement avec la municipalité d'Alfred-Plantagenet pour faire un master plan pour simplifier les choses. Donc, ce soir, nous avons Jordan, qui représente GL Richards, la firme d'ingénieurs qui ont fait le master plan, pour nous faire un aperçu du master plan. Donc, la présentation va être faite en anglais. Puis, si vous avez des questions, on va pouvoir les répondre à la suite de la présentation.
Parfait. Welcome.
Thank you very much. So thanks for having me here today. I'm going to present ultimately the Lefebvre Water Master Plan. So we're going to present the Lefebvre Water Master Plan, and it's really about the St. Isidore that we're going to talk about today. As what Nick mentioned, it ultimately provides water to that area. So essentially, a quick agenda, just talk about the master plan process and how that works, the project background, go over some future development from a broad scale, the constraints, and then future servicing needs. So essentially, the municipal class environmental assessment process. So there's a planning process that is called the Class EA process, and it has a framework that is followed, and it's ultimately public facing. And you basically go through different phases of a project in order to come to solutions that would benefit the municipality. And therefore, as part of that process, there's also what is called a master plan process. And that's ultimately what this framework was about, in the project, was to ultimately look at this at a broader level. And come up with ultimately some solutions related to growth within the villages of Lefebvre, Alfred, Plantagenet, and St. Isidore, which is what we're here to talk about today. So essentially, this plan here shows ultimately where the water comes from, and ultimately some of the villages that are that receive water from that system. And so the water originally comes from Lefebvre, the water treatment plant there, and it pumps to different municipalities, ultimately to Alfred first. Then it goes to Plantagenet, and then eventually it gets pumped to the St. Isidore system. And it ultimately, the blue basically area along that figure, the ones that are shown, are water main, transmission mains that get the water from one place to the next. So essentially here, it's just the purpose of that master plan. So ultimately to identify some preferred servicing strategies for the next 20 years, provide a bit of a description ultimately related to the existing conditions and constraints associated with the system, look at some infrastructure and look at capacity requirements and how and what to do with regards to those. and come up with ultimately a project implementation plan to review what's needed and to consult ultimately with the public and ultimately this council presentation as well. So in terms of growth projections, so you can see different projections here. The one we want to focus on ultimately is St. Isidore. So ultimately, there's area within St. Isidore for growth. And so there's, in the next 20 years, ultimately a 200% potential increase based on potential development areas within that village. So a quick overview of the capacity review of the water treatment plant and the pumping systems. So essentially the water treatment plant in Lefebvre, it ultimately it cleans the water, produces potable water, and then distributes it. So there's two different systems. One just services Lefebvre, and then the other one services ultimately Alfred Plantagenet and then St. Isidore. So the plant itself ultimately has currently, it's at around a capacity of 42%, and that's of its rated capacity, so there's still room for more water to be produced. And if you would do the projections based on all of the growth identified as part of the master plan, it would reach around 80% of its capacity in 2035. So that's important ultimately because within the next 20 some years or within those 20 years, a plant expansion would be required to meet all of the growth that was projected. Another thing that was important to identify was just ultimately the difference between the rated capacity and then ultimately the pumps. So the plant itself is rated for 6,000 cubic meters per day, but the pumps that pump to Alfred, Plantagenet, and then St. Isidore, they're rated for a smaller capacity. And so at some point in the future, currently at this point, it's very close to 80% of the rated capacity. So thinking about the design process associated with getting some bigger pumps within that pumping, within the water treatment plant would be, is one of the projects on this list. So one of the more important, I guess, projects for St. Isidore is really related to how the water gets pumped from Plantagenet to St. Isidore and ultimately within the actual village of St. Isidore, which is the tower that's currently there, so the elevated tower, because those systems are currently that's within the nation, and the pumping station itself is operated by the nation, and it's taken care of through the nation. There's no between Alfred Plantagenet and the nation. It's solely on the nation, and then ultimately the water tower as well is for the nation too, and so right now ultimately in Plantagenet there's a pumping station that pumps through a transmission main, and it goes into the water tower, which then distributes to the village of St. Isidore. So ultimately, with regards to that pumping station, there's capacity. It's at around 40% capacity at this time. So, and that's the pumps associated with getting the water to St. Isidore, and ultimately within at around 2030 is when it would reach around 80% of the capacity, and that's when you need to start to think about the design aspects associated with getting new pumps, upgrading those pumps. So in terms of water storage, so ultimately there's storage in all of the different villages. What we're most concerned about for this particular council meeting is St. Isidore. So ultimately, the St. Isidore water tower has capacity. It meets the capacity based on the population within St. Isidore, and it's roughly at capacity. So more as development occurs within St. Isidore, we'll need to start to think about upgrading to have more storage within the village. In terms of water distribution, so as part of this project, we did a water model of Lefebvre, Alfred, Plantagenet, and then we supplemented a model that St. Isidore had to basically review pressures, fire flows with regards to the distribution system within St. Isidore and the other villages. And ultimately, with regards to St. Isidore, it meets the fire flow requirements associated with the system, and so which is related to fire underwriters survey. So it's good news for the village of St. Isidore. So we came up with a problem opportunity statement associated with this project. So I put it up on the screen, and ultimately, it's really about addressing the 20-year growth within the villages and ultimately being able to provide and continue to provide the infrastructure needed. So in terms of proposed projects and implementation timelines, so there are a few projects on this sheet, and they also pertain to some of the projects for Lefebvre, Alfred, and Plantagenet. But ultimately, the ones to kind of consider are some of them are significant. So ultimately, right now there's a transmission main that goes from the Lefebvre treatment plant to Alfred, and so there's in order to provide more water, essentially a second transmission main would be required in the future. And ultimately, it's just a $25 million a project, and there would be ultimately, and I believe Nick could speak more to this, but there would be some cost sharing aspects associated with Alfred Plantagenet. And then another item on this list that is pertaining to St. Isidore would be the St. Isidore water storage expansion. So roughly projected cost of $5.3 million associated with the amount of storage needed within the next 20 years. And the others are basically more related to the other systems. The second slides here, we're showing a project related to the Plantagenet St. Isidore booster pumping station expansion. So that was ultimately the pumps that pump from St. Isidore pump from Plantagenet to St. Isidore. So there's a project related to that at around $500,000. And I believe the other projects are more related to the other systems, except for the Lefebvre water treatment plant capacity expansion, which ultimately would have more capacity at the water plant in order to provide water to all the villages, and that's ultimately upgrades are identified at around $8.2 million. So essentially, timelines with regards to the master planning process. Right now, we're just finalizing that process. So we're having this meeting to inform council. And the next steps associated with that would be to file the master plan. Basically, would close out that project associated with post Lefebvre and St. Isidore. So that's the presentation. If you have any questions.
Questions, commentaires?
I passed this morning at Wendover, and I see there's lots of construction, and I think the water from Lefebvre go to Wendover. So did the capacity of Lefebvre regarding Wendover is going to be high too there? I don't know. Everything is calculated on that.
Mr. Mayor,
Right.
just regarding Wendover, Wendover has his own water treatment plant feeding the village of Wendover alone. So the water that leaves Lefebvre doesn't affect Wendover.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Moi, ma question, ce serait comme nous autres, mettons, on a le besoin, il faut négocier avec Lefebvre à ce moment-là, parce que les autres, peut-être, ils n'ont pas le besoin. Puis si les autres, ils n'ont pas c'est pas de nécessité, à ce moment-là, on est mal pris, right?
Ben, oui, exactement. Je pense que c'était aussi une des raisons qu'on a fait le master plan, parce qu'on ne savait pas exactement où ce que les projets d'infrastructure étaient pour arriver puis combien c'était pour coûter. Donc là, en sachant les prix, on peut vraiment s'asseoir avec eux puis essayer de planer ensemble l'année que ça va arriver. C'est pas nécessairement, on va pas suivre exactement les années, ça va tout dépendre de la croissance.
Mhm.
Parce que comme j'ai mentionné dans le rapport, on a une entente en ce moment avec eux, puis c'est un flow-based agreement. Donc, si je prends les 5 dernières années, disons, on average 24% du flow qu'on prend du plan d'eau à Lefebvre. Donc, n'importe quelle infrastructure qui va être nécessaire, on va
paierait
payer
24%.
24%.
Je comprends. Fait que dans le fin fond, quand tu regardes le 25 millions, eux autres, pour faire l'expansion, on paierait 24% du 25 millions.
Exactement.
Plus le 5,3 millions pour le water storage, plus que je comprends.
C'est ça.
Mais si on peut pas si Alfred Lefebvre ils n'ont pas de growth, eux
Non.
autres,
On est un peu attaché à ça. Là.
on était un peu attachés à ça. Là.
Oui.
And what about Wendover? I mean, it's half the distance from Plantagenet that Lefebvre is. Is there instead of having to twin that pipe from Lefebvre to Alfred, can we put a pipe from Wendover to Plantagenet?
Was that an option that was looked at during the master plan process, Jordan?
Yeah, so ultimately at that, with regards to Wendover, we didn't ultimately look at that water supply directly from Wendover. Ultimately it could be something that we consider if it's shorter distance, and it would ultimately have some benefits associated with it. There would be ultimately to check the water treatment plant and see what capacity it would have at Wendover to understand does it need to be upgraded as well in order to meet that. But if there's potential cost savings to bring water from Wendover and loop that system, then some discussions with the nation and Alfred Plantagenet could happen to determine if that's a solution as well.
And my only other question was about the fire flow. Somewhere in there, one village was 45 liters per second, but St. Isidore needed 100 liters per second, if I'm not mistaken there.
Yep.
And why do we need double the flow of another town?
So
And
that's
does that 100 liters per second affect the capacity in our tower right now? The calculation. Sorry.
Yeah, no, Mr. Mayor. So the 100 liters per second was actually established it's a study that we've done for the village of St. Isidore for the actual buildings in place. And it's based on fighting a fire for the school of St. Isidore, which is the biggest demand right now in the village. So
Okay.
they actually took the way that the building was built. They looked at the size of the building, everything, and we need, as per the FUS, we need 100 liters per second to fight a fire for the school of St. Isidore. So it's the actual number. As far for the impact on the reservoir, the capacity, Jordan, I don't know. I think you guys looked into it, right?
Yeah, so ultimately that 100 liters per second that's being discussed, it doesn't really factor into the overall size of the storage. Size of storage is more related to how many people are in the village of St. Isidore. So it's actually a good thing that you have more flow available for firefighting, and ultimately the reason that you're able to actually get that 100 liters per second is because you have a water tower that distributes to your village. Not that even because it's bigger, it doesn't ultimately affect the storage size for St. Isidore.
Okay, so it's not like because I remember when I was a member of the fire department out that way, we always tried to switch to our dry hydrant as quick as we could in the town of St. Isidore. So maybe that first hour was on a hydrant, an actual wet hydrant, maybe not even that much. And as soon as we could get that shuttle set up, we were pulling off that dry hydrant. So I was just wondering if that saved us some capacity in the tower, but I'm understanding that it does not. So
Not from a theoretical calculation ultimately, which is what this is about, but ultimately from an operational standpoint, they would have their own reasons.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Est-ce qu'on a d'autres questions, commentaires? Nick, est-ce que tu veux mettre un book là-dessus pas mal ou
Donc, comme vous avez vu dans mon rapport, moving forward, on va vraiment prendre nos décisions conjointement avec Alfred Plantagenet puisque les montants sont assez élevés. Donc,
ils sont assez élevés. Puis, comme j'ai dit, je pense que on peut pas faire des décisions sans eux autres parce que nos décisions, si notre growth match pas l'heure, ça avance pas. Là.
Exactement.
Monsieur Leroux?
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. So just to clear up any misunderstanding, the village is at capacity right now. There's no growth going to St. Isidore. If there's a developer who wants to develop in St. Isidore, he'll have to pay all those costs up front. Again, that's based on discussions with Alfred Plantagenet if they want to invest from their side. So I think it's very difficult to see any growth in the near future in the village of St. Isidore.
Right. It's a very complex issue. And I think that's whenever you're a landlocked village or municipality and you're not by large tracts of water, these are things that are always going to be issues going forward, unfortunately.
If I may, just to clarify even more what Mr. Leroux just said, that is if Alfred and Plantagenet, let's say, if they don't have the requirement right now to upgrade on their end, the financial burden would become 100% of the 25 million and not only 24%, right? Because if they don't have the requirement to upgrade right away, they're going to say, well, you guys need it in Saint-Isidore. The developer wants to go ahead with that in Saint-Isidore. They have to cover it. Once we're going to need it, then we're going to pay the balance. But as of right now, the upfront payment would have to be 100% of that twinning between the five and Alfred.
Wow. Okay.
J'ai une résolution. Be it resolved that council approve the water master plan as presented by J.L. Richards on May 12th, 2025. Proposé par?
Monsieur Mainville, Monsieur Stewart. Tous d'accord? OK, parfait.
Je crois que
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. OK. Je pense que Monsieur Collard est ici. OK. Alrighty. That's, what, 8.2? No,
6.1.
6.1.
Je vais éteindre les lumières encore. Est-ce que vous préférez avec ça?
Oui, c'est bon.
Ça, c'est bon, ça? OK.
Bienvenue.
Merci. Bonjour tout le monde. Je pense que je connais la plupart du monde alentour de la table. Mon nom c'est Éric Collard, je suis directeur général du Sentier récréatif Prescott Russell. On fait des points saillants pour 2024. On est presque à moitié de 2025, là. Mais on va juste faire un petit compte-rendu, vu que vous êtes une des 5 municipalités où le sentier traverse. Fait que je n'irai pas tout point par point parce que je sais que vous avez d'autres affaires avec des plus gros budgets à discuter. Mais juste parler, on a fait de plus en plus d'événements en 2024, surtout dans les communautés alentours du sentier. On parle des communautés de Bourgette, Hammond, ici proche de Van Cleek Hill, Saint-Eugène. Fait que c'est quelque chose qui nous amène beaucoup, qui nous amène des fonds un peu, mais aussi c'est quelque chose qui nous amène l'engagement avec la communauté. Puis c'est quelque chose qu'on est fiers de faire. We've done a bunch of outreach with respect to social media and then also traditional media. As you can see, my ugly mug on the cover of The Citizen. We hosted the World Trails Conference, a pre-conference workshop at our pavilion in Bourgette. We had 60 people from around the world come and hang out with us for the day to look at what we're doing in a rural trail. And we're seen as a good steward of a rural trail. So it was a great example. It was a great showcase for our small organization. And also we got some recognition by having a cover story, which was a nice way to get out in publicly and in good faith. So Pour les gros accomplissements, on a fini, on a fait l'inauguration du nouveau pavillon à Alfred, qui est notre 6e pavillon sur le sentier. Malheureusement, vous êtes la seule municipalité qui n'a pas un pavillon sur le sentier, comme vous le savez, mais on vous aime quand même. On a aussi planté une couple de mille arbres dans votre communauté, proche de Cross Creek. Puis on planifie en planter un autre 2500 en 2025 pour... c'est une des places où il y a le moins d'arbres sur le sentier, ou sur les côtés sur le sentier. Fait qu'on on a eu des commentaires des cyclistes et des résidents aussi. Les arbres nous aident avec, c'est sûr, les changements climatiques, mais aussi pour le vent, et aussi le reste de l'ombre, des choses comme ça. Fait que c'est quelque chose c'est bon pour un petit peu tout le monde. On espère que vous allez considérer notre requête de financement pour les arbres pour 2025. Les gros objectifs pour 2025, c'est aussi stabiliser notre financement. En 2024, on a lancé, la fin de 2024, on a lancé notre plus grande levée de fonds à date. C'est avec, c'est avec Catch the Ace, dont vous faites partie aussi. On est un des récipiendaires, un des 17 récipiendaires. 17 ou quelque chose, 24 des récipiendaires. Fait que c'est quelque chose, je pense, qui va nous amener des fonds et aussi des belles choses dans les années à venir. C'est sûr que vu qu'on a la compétition avec vos projets puis d'autres projets dans la région, c'est pas facile d'avoir toutes les votes et tous les billets, mais c'est quelque chose que je pense qu'on est en train de faire notre petite place dans la communauté avec les billets en ligne. So yeah, one of the big things is to really kind of stabilize the funding for 2025. We're still working on a sort of partnership plan. The big thing for 2025 is our 20th anniversary. So it's the 20th anniversary of the inauguration of the trail. Obviously, as owners and operators, we only took it over just over 3 years ago, or closer to 4 years ago. But the trail itself has been in the communities and has been part of the communities for 20 years now. So we'll have celebrations throughout the communities in the next few months, and we'll keep you posted for anything that we do around here, and we'll reach out for some support as well. So again, I'll leave some time for questions. My only ask for today is to we'll be coming forward with an official ask in the coming weeks to get a donation equivalent to our municipal taxes. We've already got it set up with 2 of the 5 municipalities, and we're finalizing the 3rd one. So we're hoping to have it all with, as a small nonprofit, we think we provide a lot of value to the communities along the trail. So we're hoping, even though it's not a very big amount, for us, it's going to make a difference for our bottom line. Fait que je vais vous revenir avec une demande officielle dans les semaines à venir. On a déjà une entente avec Clarence Rockland et Hawkesbury S, et on est en train de finaliser une entente avec Champlain aussi. Fait que c'est quelque chose qu'on espère que vous allez considérer dans les prochaines semaines ou le prochain mois. Et pour nous autres, c'est vraiment un des autres gros projets pour nous autres, c'est le projet du corridor, de l'étude du corridor d'Ottawa-Montréal avec Destination Canada. C'est un projet on fait avec RTO9, qui est l'agence régionale de tourisme pour la région, et Vélo Québec. On veut vraiment bâtir de l'infrastructure et plein de business, bâtir une base de données de tous les business qui sont dans le coin pour quand le monde vienne, on ait des atouts mondiaux. On sait que le cycliste, je ne sais pas si vous le savez, mais le cycliste au Québec, ils ont plus de financement, plus de participants, plus de tout, plus de financement surtout pour l'infrastructure. Mais on espère, on a une couple de rencontres avec nos partenaires provinciaux. On espère faire un peu d'avance là-dessus. Mais on sait qu'il y a beaucoup, surtout avec le tronçon de Rigaud qui vont se joindre au sentier en 2025. On pense d'avoir bien plus de trafic qui va venir du côté du Québec. Et on travaille aussi encore avec la Ville d'Ottawa et la CCN pour faire la connexion à l'est, parce qu'en ce moment, le sentier est fini dans un champ proche de Anderson, dans la ville d'Ottawa. Mais c'est pas notre juridiction, fait qu'il faut travailler avec la ville d'Ottawa et la CCN, parce que c'est eux autres qui ont toutes les grandes décisions là-bas. Mais juste pour vous dire que vous allez voir de plus en plus, surtout des touristes, des cyclotouristes qui vont venir du Québec. Puis à chaque année, on en voit qui viennent des États-Unis, de l'Europe et des restes des pays. On commence à avoir une très bonne réputation. Puis la chose qui attire beaucoup de monde aussi, c'est que c'est une brise rurale, mais c'est un sentier dédié. Surtout pour les jeunes familles ou les aînés, avoir quelque chose qui a presque pas de trafic véhiculaire, c'est quelque chose qui est vraiment attirant. Puis quand Crigo va faire qu'est-ce que j'appelle leur morceau de robot, on va avoir presque 110 km de chaque côté. Fait que vous fallait faire une ride de bicycle de 220 km sans trop voir de trafic. C'est quelque chose, surtout dans une section rurale, puis avec des attraits qu'on est en train de bâtir avec nos partenaires, c'est quelque chose qu'on pense qu'il va avoir de la publicité à travers la région, la province et même le reste du Canada. C'est tout pour aujourd'hui. Comme je dis, on va revenir avec une demande officielle pour je sais que ce n'est pas un rabais de taxe, mais un don équivalent à nos taxes foncières. Est-ce qu'il y a des questions?
Moi, il y a combien de kilomètres qui sur votre tête à la nation?
Très bonne question. J'ai une feuille dans mon bureau, mais je peux vous ramener avec ça. C'est pas tout égal, là, mais vous êtes même si vous n'avez pas de pavillon, c'est juste que les pavillons sont juste presque aux limites à Plantagenet, puis après à Vankleek-Hill. Fait que, mais il y a presque 20 km entre les deux. Fait que, si je ne me trompe pas, c'est quelque chose comme 15 ou 18 km, là, mais je peux vous en revenir avec les...
15 km sur 110, mettons.
Oui. Notre sentier, c'est 72, là. Okay. Mais 110, ça, c'est quand on a... Parce qu'Ottawa, ils ont 26 km dans la municipalité d'Ottawa. Puis là, Rigaud sont en train de faire leurs 10 km. Okay. Je voudrais aussi remercier la conseillère Marjorie Drolet qui est sur notre CA. C'est le fun d'avoir... c'est sûr que, comme on joke souvent, qu'il n'y a pas de pavillon, fait qu'il y a moins d'intérêt ici, mais on a des statistiques qui montrent qu'on a presque 100 000 visiteurs par année sur le sentier. Fait que
même business dans notre 15 km, y a-t-il des business à la nation qui profitent de l'achalandage de...
Oui, comme j'ai dit, on a sur notre map, on a les quelques business. C'est sûr que le monde essaie d'arrêter ou il s'arrête plus au pavillon que dans le milieu, mais il y a encore des rues qui... puis c'est quelque chose qu'on essaie de... On a mis une subvention pour les fonds Trillium pour vraiment faire la signalisation, parce que la plupart de notre signalisation a 20 ans. Sont là depuis le début. Puis même, on a même des plaintes de nos amis qui font de la motoneige, qui disent qu'il manque soit des stops ou il manque des flèches ici puis là. Mais surtout pour un petit OBNL, les enseignes, c'est quelque chose qui... les coûts ont monté beaucoup.
Any other questions or comments? OK, merci.
Merci beaucoup. Puis je vais vous dire, on vous revient très bientôt avec une requête officielle.
OK, donc.
Merci.
Maintenant.
Je crois que la personne est arrivée pour l'uniforme de M. Lafrance.
OK. 8. OK. Cooling options.
Donc, bonsoir, good evening. I have with me Mr. Ken Dolman from Century Mechanical.
Okay.
You can go at the mic, please. And Julie's going to...
Hello, sir. Welcome.
Hi.
How are you?
So I don't have a presentation for you.
These hands, all good.
These hands are never going to be on a model. I'm your service contractor. Working with Nick, I take care of your mechanical for your sewage plant, which is not always a great job.
Right.
There are no dinners after that. I tried once. And I live here in Limoges. I've been here for just under 6 years, and I love it. And I swore that I wanted to do everything I can to take care of the community where I live. I used to live in Ottawa. I couldn't get connected. But in Limoges, the nation, very much so.
I see.
Justin has asked, we've had many conversations about the Sportsplex. I take care of the mechanical work there. I've been there just about 2 years. I want to thank you for building an amazing facility. Honestly, I do a lot of places. I've done 6 domes, okay, even recently. And they're a lot of trouble. They come off being great, get a big snowstorm, get a big wind, and it's not working out. If you know people at L'Oreal, the dome collapsed this year, it's completely shot. The dome down the hill at Hornets Nest is blown up once. Okay, what you built was a tremendous facility. I've been doing it for a while now, and I think we've only had like 3 service calls. It's been a great spot. It's great equipment. It's been really good. It is well maintained. It's a lot of work, but it's been great. So I'm very familiar with it. I'm familiar with the guys who installed it. It was in my backyard. I drive by every day, and when I see a competitor, I'm watching. Okay, I'm watching. I'm watching everything. Okay, but it's been great to take care of. Now, last year, Justin and I were talking a little bit about cooling, because last year there was some talk about is there a way we can make this place a little colder?
Yeah, in the summertime it's an issue, right?
Yeah. So what we tried, I was asked to try, is to bring in more fresh air. As much as possible during the evening when it's cool out. A lot of you people, probably like myself, when it's cool outside, like tonight, open the windows out, let some fresh air in, try to get the most out of it. Great idea. It kind of screwed the building up a little bit because it's got a very sensitive air pressure system in it. It brings in approximately 30% fresh air all the time. So you've got to balance how much air comes in, how much air comes out, or everybody pops their ears. So that didn't work out really well because, in all fairness, when it's 30 degrees outside and 28 degrees in the night, or even 23 at night, it can't be colder than 23, right? It just can't be. There's just no way around it. So Justin's had some ideas. He understands you guys have some questions. I'd like to help you guys make a decision. I'm not a salesperson, really. If something happens, I certainly will want to be involved, but I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm just here to try to help you make an informed decision, because what happens with you guys happens with me. Right. Like I say to Nick, if his pumps break, I don't have any water. I'm going to go look at these pumps. If the sewage doesn't work, well, we're all going to figure that out quick. But I get involved because I care. I genuinely do care.
Now, yeah, because we were bouncing around on some ideas with some big ceiling fans.
Yeah, I'd like to address all of those things.
Like, I think there was also, Mr. Boisvenu, it's not dehumidifiers, but what are some of the evaporators? And
so there's a lot of ideas, but none of them are really going to work. Only one will really work. So one of the ideas is fans. You actually have 8 fans up in the ceiling. Okay, they're covered by metal cages so the kids don't kick a soccer ball out and come with 2 pieces on the way down. All those are for is to move the heat down a little bit so the ventilation system can pick it up. They're not powerful enough to blow to the floor. So an idea that was brought up, there's a manufacturer called Big Ass Fans. Everybody's heard, and they're huge fans. You could have one as big as this entire room, and they will blow down. But if anybody kicks a soccer ball up, there's either going to be 2 soccer balls or a tragedy if that thing comes down. So, and they're way too big to create a metal cage big enough to protect them. And the bottom line is, even for soccer, is if you have a fan at your house like I do, it will make you feel cooler. It's called evaporative cooling. On a human being, when we get hot, we have moisture, we sweat. The cold air hits it, we feel cooler. We don't actually change the temperature, but we feel cooler. So if you wanted to do that, you'd need a lot of fans. You can't put them at the ceiling because they're too big to cover up. So you can't have, and you have kids. You can't have a ground level because you need so many fans, and you have no room for them. Because if anyone, all you are aware, at the outside of the soccer field is a great big wall or a vinyl wall, right? So you'd have to have them either right on the soccer field, which would affect the soccer ball. You can't have them on the outside because it won't go through that mat, and you'd hit the track. Right. So fans on the ground level, not a great idea. Fans at the ceiling, in theory, would work if you didn't have so many active sports going on, in theory. But then remember, ladies and gentlemen, you'd just be getting a bit of wind, okay? It won't make it colder. You just can't. Right. Another type of cooling you might have heard of, I think Justin mentioned too, it's portable cooling, we call that, okay? I watch a lot of car shows. I'm a total gearhead. And a lot of auto repair shops, they have portable coolers. They're massive units that are standalone, and what they do is they pump water through them, and the water falls down like a waterfall down a grill, and then the wind blows through the grill. It feels like cool air, okay? In an open area, it'll feel cool. But what it actually does is it evaporates water. You can buy them, by the way, at Canadian Tire. They'll sit right on your desk. They'll say they'll make you cool, but they'll actually add tons of humidity to your air. Because when that water evaporates, it's going to be humid. And if you know what a sticky, hot, humid day is, that's what you'll create. Second of all, you would need 9 of them. They're about this big. They all require a plug, and you don't have any room on the field or on the warning track to put them.
Right.
You couldn't. They'd actually have to be right on the edge of the field, and absolutely would affect any sport going on. I think even wiffle ball, paddle ball, whatever you want, that ball is going to have a mind of its own when it hits all those fans, right? And they'll literally be in your way. There's no way to function properly. So unfortunately, and they add humidity, because as the water evaporates, you'd have to have somebody constantly going in and adding water. They're plugged in, constantly trying to cool it, but you're going to have a very hot, humid environment. It won't change anything. The right choice is mechanical cooling. It's a lot of money. Similar to what most people have at their home. Because the unit didn't come with cooling, we now need to create it externally. Just like most people have in their home, we call that a split system. Imagine a split system for 120 homes. That's what you're going to need. About 210 tons. Okay, it's a big building. Now I have gone through your building top to bottom. You have 2 fans on the roof, you have some vents on the side. It is a great system, by the way. You made a great choice. The manufacturer Aon is a fantastic. There's only one of 2 companies I would have recommended to you, and that's one of them. And by the way, we've only had like 2 or 3 calls. One of which was because we changed the air pressure and we tried this thing. That's it. It's been trouble-free. We have extensive maintenance on it. It's a great system. Unfortunately, to make it air-conditioned, we would have to have 2 large, what we call condensing units, like you have at home, only significantly larger, outside, piped in, 2 massive coils put inside for the cooling, and then quite a lot of electronics and programming changes to make the unit become cooling, because the unit does no cooling. It moves a heck of a lot of air. It's almost 4 or 5 million BTUs of heat. It's a very big unit, but it works really well, no question. But it is a significant undertaking to just create cooling. Right. And there's no portable cooling. When you're dealing with that size of space, there's nothing small and that's going to work for something that large with such a high ceiling. And factoring in too, it's used for sports. Tons of people burning energy, creating heat, creating moisture. The heat load is amazing. And I'm once again very pleased that you guys have so much involvement. I drive by there, the parking lot's full all the time, right? You're really getting good use out of the building, but now, of course, now you get caught with what are we going to do? Right. I know a lot of you have a dome. I heard the dome in Russell screwed everything up, that they have cooling. I can tell you that most domes don't. They don't. I haven't seen one yet that has cooling, okay? Because domes are very difficult because of the air pressure and everything else, but I have not seen one. There's one on Woodruff, it's not air conditioned. Most of them aren't, they're just used for soccer, or some of them used for driving for golf in the winter. They're heated, and they're taken down or whatever, but very rarely, and they're very hard to air condition because they're not well insulated. It's just the way they're designed.
So the energy required to keep it cold is quite...
I haven't seen one. I mean, Algonquin College has one they put up, they take it down in the summertime because they have an open field. Ottawa U has one, they put it up, they take it down. The Hornet's Nest stays up, not air conditioned. L'Oreal stayed up, wasn't air conditioned.
Right.
I haven't seen them air conditioned. And they would be really hard because they move, a dome leaks all the time.
Yep.
Constantly leaks air, regardless of how it looks. It would be hard to air conditioning for that reason, but I haven't seen it happen. Mostly, I would imagine, because the lack of insulation. Right. You'd probably have issues as well. The building you guys have is insulated, it's well made, it's very structurally good. You'll have it a lot longer than most people with domes. And the domes, because the air pressure has to be absolutely perfect or it'll pop your eardrums. The doors are very expensive because if you open a door, it's quite a lot of pressure. I hate them. I think you guys have a beautiful facility. It is well executed. I'm very impressed with it.
Good to hear.
But unfortunately, to make it cool, I can't figure out a shortcut for you that would work, that doesn't have a negative side effect,
Right.
especially with the walking track and the wall.
Yeah, we were even thinking like even posting them into the wall, like maybe 6-7 feet off the ground, and having them clamped onto the beams, and then just moving some air.
I don't know. I'm not a soccer player. Clearly, I'm.
Because the nets protect the soccer balls from hitting the walls, right? So you have your nets that go right up almost
Yeah.
to the ceiling, and then you have your space on the track. Like
your
I'll
nets your
visually,
fans would blow in at the nets.
That's like, again, I was like visually, I'm like,
Yeah.
would there be enough space to mount them up onto the wall somehow, and then move air that way?
But you do move a lot of air. I think we wrote it down. I think it was there's a significant CFM. Like there's a lot of that. You had same amount of airflow as winter as the summer. It always moves 30% of all the airflow through it is always fresh air, because you need to have that in a facility. What was the CFM?
Yeah, 64,000.
64,000 CFM is constantly being pumped in there. There's no stale air. It's always moving.
Right.
And then whatever comes in, there's exhaust fans that pull it out. So you are always moving air.
Right.
It's how you would feel as a soccer player. Probably would be nicer with a fan, but I don't think you can do it without affecting the soccer game.
Interesting.
Like, I just don't see it. You would need a lot of fans.
Right.
And big ones. You have 8 fans that I don't think have any effect at all as a person. I
Right.
mean, it does move the heat down, and that helps get it into the system in the wintertime, but it has no effect. And if I put massive fans out, those big ass fans, they would feel like a wind tunnel, yes, but they're not going to be safe for you. You'd be looking at a liability. One of those blades breaks off because a kid kicks a soccer ball up. It's never going to be worth it. And you couldn't put a cage that big. They're normally used in large areas. I have them in a lot of car dealerships. They usually the windows open and they don't kick anything up in the air, and they're nowhere near where the cars are.
Right. Because those ideas came from like when we were at an airport down south. When you're sitting in the airport waiting to go through customs,
For
you
sure.
see those big things that are pushing, and they push a lot of air, but in the end, like I said, it's not.
I could put one
soccer
in
ball.
right here and you'd all feel great, but it wouldn't be too big, so you could have it in a cage.
Right.
Right? You can't put ground level ones on because the soccer ball would you'd affect the game. That's my concern. You'd affect the game. You'd need so many to have an impact on the wind touching you to make you feel better, even though it's going to be a warm wind.
Right.
The other thing too is you're not going to dehumidify. And when we get a warm day and rain and it's 90% humid, which is that uncomfortable feeling, none of this will matter. Air conditioning by design takes 70% of its job is to take away the moisture out of the air. It's only 30% of your air conditioner at home's job is to make the temperature lower. Even today, I have people telling me, "Oh my God, it's 24 degrees in my house. Are you comfortable?" Yeah, but it's 24. I say, "Yeah, but are you comfortable?" Because your air conditioning is pulling the moisture out, which is what you're really going to need with a lot of people running around playing pickleball and stuff. So, I really would love to give you an answer that makes sense, but there's a negative to everything.
Right.
I went there. We visited the site. We thought, where could we put a fan? How could we put temporary cooling? We looked up the biggest air conditioner, and they're quite expensive. A 30-ton portable cooling unit's almost 12 grand, and you would need eight of them.
Wow.
Plus, you'd have all these pieces of equipment on your field. You'd have wind blowing from everywhere, water kind of being sprayed in, and everybody would be uncomfortable because you're spraying moist, cooler air, but it's not really the solution.
Right.
In my opinion, my professional opinion, I would say go to tender for cooling to have it installed. The manufacturer that you purchased it from, McDonald Brothers, yeah, I was there. They picked it up through a company called Total HVAC in Ottawa, and I have all the specs on your unit. I know exactly what they're going to need. They know exactly what it takes to add on the air conditioning, to provide the new boards, to put the new software in. The rest is going to be done by a contractor, the piping, everything like you're doing at your home, only in massive magnitude.
Right.
And electrical would have to be modified, of course, because it's almost 400 amps. It's a lot. Now, what I would do is if it was done and it's working, yes it is, it's going to work great, I would put night set back on. I would have the air conditioning shut off maybe at 10 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock in the morning. Shut it right out. Why air condition a building nobody's in? You can easily do that. Have it ramp up in the morning so you just have the air conditioning for when you need it.
Right.
That's what I would do to save your energy. It's complex. There's a lot of electrical that would obviously have to happen. There's a lot of piping, a lot of things, and it takes time. It would be difficult to not use the same manufacturer, Aeon, which is the equipment there, then another company's equipment would be difficult to interact with the two, and you want everything smoothly. You want a temperature where at night it takes fresh air, during the day it shuts off and it brings on mechanical cooling, probably like you have for this building here. And if you stay with Aon, which is the brand you have, you should be able to get all that.
Right.
I worked with the guys who did your startup on that building. I told you, I'm involved. I would do that all day long.
Is there any questions or comments? Because like I said, we're not ready for that
course not.
there. But it's good to know.
It's a lot of money. I mean,
Yeah,
the equipment will come on 2 transport trucks, 2 100-ton condensing units. It's quite large. I mean, I don't know if anybody's driven by, but it's bigger than a tractor trailer. The equipment that you have on site. It's a monster unit. It's the equivalent. You need the equivalent of over 100 homes of cooling, because of the height of the ceiling. Yeah, it's a 200-ton unit. Typical home is about 2 tons that you have. It's not an easy thing to do. I could do it. I know what we have to do, incorporate it into the unit that you have, and it would work perfectly because you'd have the manufacturer helping you set all the things
Right.
up. I know it was expensive at the time, and quite honestly, most soccer fields are not air conditioned. So I understand your reasons behind it.
Right.
And it's been a great unit, but it's moving forward, you'd probably want to go to tender to get this taken care of. I completely understand, but I really don't have a solution for you that will work. And I
Other
can't sell you something that I can't stand behind.
Right. D'autres questions, commentaires, any questions or comments? Thank you so much.
Sure,
Really
do you mind
appreciate-
if I stick around? Just
Yeah. Yeah. For a guy that wasn't prepared to present there, my God,
Nick will tell you
you're
that-
hired.
When there's a problem, I drop what I'm doing and I come see you guys. This is my community, and I have looked into how big a portable cooler you could get. Not one that you can get a Keating tower that sits on your desk,
Right.
but the biggest commercial one. I've looked at the biggest fans. Because Justin's been great to deal with. He gave me your ideas, and I said, okay, is it even possible? I gotta try. I
Right.
just gotta try. Because I can't walk up in here and say I don't know.
Right, and it's our job to ask those questions, right? So now we know the answer, and now we can focus elsewhere. So again, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Okay.
So the recommendation or the ask in Justin's report and Mr. Lafrance's report would be to give us direction. So would you like to just table it for now?
Yeah, I think there's no direction to give. I think we got the information that we were asking questions about.
Okay.
Now we know.
So just take no action moving forward?
I think,
Just monitor?
like I said, I think we're at the point now where we understand what we're involved, what's involved, and so we're not ready for the mechanical solutions and all that stuff and spending huge money. That's not where we're at. So I think we just gotta accept what we have and move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to give a little bit of additional context, when I came in last year and I found out about the air conditioning situation, I had asked the director at the time to go back to the manufacturer and see what kind of money we were looking at. And they came back, rough estimate was about $1.3 million.
Yeah.
So again, if ever council decided to go that route, would we, even if it was rented full time, how many years would it take to actually get the return on that investment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but just to give some context, if anybody's watching, as the dollar value, and again, that was very preliminary.
That's very accurate.
Oh, there you go. So it's a,
Things may have changed in the last year.
yeah.
Things we can't control, but that is unfortunately, that is a very close to accurate.
Yeah.
It is a lot of equipment, it is a lot of trucks, that's very close to what I found.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Would you like to move on at item 8.6
Oui.
for the Caledonia Hall repairs?
Oui. 8.6, Monsieur Lafrance. Mr. Lafrance.
Donc, bonsoir. So, in front of you, you have a report for Caledonia repairs, much needed repairs, safety concerns, and levels of service. The culvert was repaired last year on an emergency basis, and talking with the public works team and Mr. Legault, it's a safety concern. It might fall again this year. And while they're there, fits in the long-lasting issue of the drainage issue, which pools water in the park. So that's all done at the same time. And the reason why we're doing it now and not at a later time is once the public works team start working on capital projects, they won't be available to do those repairs. And that means we have to do outside contractor, which might be a higher cost. Which is to ask to take money out of the reserve budget. We do have enough money in the reserve to be able to make those fixes.
Okay. Any questions or comments? I know that's been an issue for many years now. C'est un sujet de discussion, ça fait plusieurs années. Fait que je pense que on peut finalement regarder à ça puis tourner la page, turn the page on that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I communicated with some of the leaders there from St. Bernadette, and they're glad to see it go forward. And it's a big number, but the building needs to be drained for sure. We need that tile unblocked, and we had a collapse in the other driveway last year, and we were there on site looking at the culverts that are there right now, and there's basically nothing left of the culverts. It's just the ground that's holding them up. So there's another collapse going to happen anytime. So
yeah, and I think also the grade. We looked at the grade, and I think that needs to be fixed as well. So while we're on site, we'll do it right, and then we can turn the page, like I said. So I'm all for this for sure. Okay.
Qu'il soit résolu que le Conseil approuve d'utiliser les fonds de réserve de la réserve du Centre Calédonia pour compléter les travaux de drainage et de ponceau nécessaires au centre communautaire et du parc de Calédonia. Proposé par
Monsieur Stewart, Monsieur Mainville, tous d'accord? OK. Good. We're good to go.
Est-ce que vous voulez arrêter pour souper à ce point-ci?
Ouais,
Les prochains sujets sont assez lourds.
Ouais, I think we'll take a break for 35 minutes, and then we'll come back at 6:30.
Parfait.
Okay.
Alors,
We're back? OK. Welcome back, everybody. Bienvenue. Maintenant, je pense qu'on va y aller au point 8.2 pour la discussion. Si je m'en rappelle bien, c'est quelque chose qu'on avait jasé il y a deux semaines. C'était ramené sur la table. Fait que je vais donner la parole à M. Leroux.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. Yes, this item was deferred at our last meeting for additional review. What I'm bringing forward today is the same draft hiring policy since that was unchanged since that meeting. The policy replaces the 2017 version, which was approved by Council under Resolution 561-2017. It updates formatting, process language, reflect current practices, but overall the intent and the structure is the same. I'd like to take a moment to address the use of the word equitable, because I know that came up during the discussion. It's not a new term. It was included in the 2017 version that was approved by Council, and it continues to appear in this one. In both human resources and legal framework, equitable means fair, consistent, and free from bias. It's not, it doesn't refer to quotas or preferential treatment. It supports a merit-based process by ensuring that all applicants are treated consistently and based on qualifications. I know there was some worry in the public about this being like a diversity, a DEI initiative or policy. That's not the case. It's a procedural document designed to ensure our hiring practices are fair, transparent, and compliant with existing legal standards, including the Municipal Act of 2001 and the Employment Standards Act of 2000. So for that, it's being presented to Council again for further discussion and decision.
OK. Questions, commentaires? OK, Madame Delalier.
I did the section about the hiring policies. You're doing them all together, right? So I can. So this one about the hiring policy, there was just a section about which I like the description and what's written there. Let me just find the spot. Sorry, the succession planning and employee development. So I like the way it's breaking down, what to do, the mentoring program, the job shadowing and whatnot. However, it's to develop the internal candidates, but we're also going to continue doing what we've talked about before to post it to the public, right? So I just wanted to confirm that was part of it.
No,
Yes,
for sure.
definitely.
Like
Okay.
I always say, if the Wayne Gretzky of whatever position we are posting for comes and applies, then we'd be fools to not
100%.
not bring them
Okay.
on board. So I think that's yeah. I think that's the policy going forward. I don't think that changes.
Okay, so that was just to confirm that with when I was reading there.
D'autres questions, commentaires? Anything? Questions, comments?
Well, I still have the same concerns as I raised a couple weeks ago, just about the oversight and the transparency of amending these policies and not having them on the agenda. I think they should still come before council. I think I don't see the the major positive change that comes with not having them come before council. I worked for a municipality for a lot of years, and I saw decisions made by management and human resources and CAO, really day-to-day operation stuff very negatively impact the workforce. And the what's the word I'm looking for? The feeling, the job site, how employees felt about their work environment, and I saw the negative results of that. And for years I thought, how do our elected officials let this continue? How is it that our elected officials allow policies, the policy decisions, manpower or person power decisions like this continue that so obviously are detrimental to the the well-being of the employees and led to many employees leaving and moving on to other endeavors, which most definitely affected the service delivery, the service that was delivered, and definitely negatively impacted the users of that service. So I didn't understand until I got up here and realized that the elected officials really were not informed. The elected officials who were there as the representatives of the shareholders of that municipality, of that corporation, really had no idea what was going on day to day. And now I'm not saying that that's happening here, and I'm not pointing the finger at anybody or making any accusations of any nature or anything here. But that's where I come from. And that's my window to this sort of thing, that this handing over or relinquishing of the little bit of oversight that we have to stay connected like this, I don't agree with. So I'd like to see things continue the way they were. And but anyway, that's my feelings on it. So.
OK. D'autres choses?
Ben, moi, j'étais juste pour dire que je pense que moi, j'entends ce que tu dis, mais d'un autre côté, je pense qu'on ne peut pas tout non plus voir les politiques administratives parce que ce serait trop lourd au niveau de la gouvernance. Mais je pense que dans le cas de ton exemple où il y a un problème, si c'est amené à un des élus, il peut se pencher là-dessus, poser des questions, puis il peut rapporter la politique, s'il y a quelque chose mais ça ne veut pas dire qu'il faut toutes les regarder. Mais c'est sûr que s'il y a des gens, comme tu dis, qu'il y a des choses qui sont pas correctes, il faut être mis au courant, puis ainsi de suite. Mais je pense qu'entre deux, il y a tout voir avant, puis après ça, pouvoir intervenir. Moi, je trouve que ça se tient la présentation. Ben, ouais, le rapport.
Okay. Monsieur Lalonde?
Oui, je suis d'accord avec Danick. Je comprends le point à M. Stewart, mais j'ai quand même travaillé 35 ans. J'ai quand même une carrière à travailler pour 35 ans. Puis là, je suis à ma retraite, puis je travaille ici à la Nation. Et puis, je veux dire, j'ai travaillé beaucoup avec des employés, puis j'ai travaillé beaucoup avec des directeurs généraux, des superviseurs et tout. Et puis, moi, ce que je réalise, c'est qu'on est en 2025. On n'est plus en 1940, 50, 60. Puis, tu sais, on est en 2025. Puis, je pense pas que les directeurs généraux, les superviseurs, ils font exprès pour mal accommoder leurs employés. Les employés ont beaucoup de moyens, puis je veux dire, quand on se ramasse avec le day-to-day à comparer au niveau stratégique, moi, j'ai aucunement l'intention de m'impliquer dans le day-to-day operations. Les directeurs, les superviseurs sont amplement qualifiés et payés pour s'occuper du day-to-day que les employés font. Et puis, moi, j'ai aucunement... moi, je ne supporte pas que les conseillers qui sont qui sont censés s'occuper de la gouvernance et non le day-to-day operations. Je pense pas que c'est notre job de commencer à s'impliquer dans le day-to-day. Puis j'aimerais ça que le day-to-day continue à être dans les mains des directeurs puis des superviseurs qui sont amplement qualifiés puis payés pour faire ce job-là. Moi, c'est de cette manière-là que je vois ça. Okay. Puis comme je vous dis, on est en 2025, là. Je pense qu'avec toutes les à toutes les organisations, les commissaires à l'intégrité et tout. Je pense pas que les employés... je pense pas qu'il y a beaucoup de directeurs ou de superviseurs qui feraient exprès pour rendre la vie difficile à les employés. Puis certainement pas depuis mes années que je suis ici à Nation. Je pense pas que les employés à Nation ils ont ce beef-là non plus. That's my 2 cents.
OK.
Moi, je pense que la dernière fois qu'on avait jasé, c'était plus comme pour qu'on se fasse garder au courant s'il y a un changement qui est plus drastique. Tu sais, s'il y a quelque chose, on parlait des minutes, là, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, s'il y avait un petit changement, que ces choses-là, ça nous était pas autant d'importance. Je pense que c'est plus ça qu'on avait jasé la dernière fois, mais que quand il y a quelque chose qui est plus un gros changement dans une politique ou une procédure, que de cette façon, on se fait informer, même si c'est au niveau administratif qu'on est gardé au courant. C'est certain que je pense que la grosse problématique, c'est de penser c'est quoi le where's the line, when do we decide if it's important, not as important, or where's the... puis on avait peut-être jasé qu'on aurait peut-être l'option de les marquer, tu sais, dans le nouveau document là, qu'on a intégré. Est-ce qu'on les met là quand il y a des nouveaux changements?
Je pense qu'on avait mentionné SharePoint, hein? That was something.
Est-ce que ce serait... je me sens que ça serait un in-between?
Oui, merci beaucoup à travers vous, Monsieur le maire, Madame Drolet. Madame la greffière a contacté la compagnie pour SharePoint pour voir est-ce que c'est possible de donner accès aux membres du conseil pour voir tous ces documents-là. Je crois que c'est positif. On peut mettre quelque chose en place que you'll be able to access SharePoint, go see the policies, go see all those files, and have a read-only ability. So that you're able to see everything, and if ever there's something that you wish to address, then you can speak to myself or the clerk, and we can put it on the agenda to talk about something. But yes, members of council will have the ability to go through the system and see all those policies in place.
Again, like I'm just thinking, something that's quick and easy. Like, is there a way, like we, let's say, council has like we're all on Teams, right? You can form a group on Teams. She changes a policy. This week I changed a policy this. If you want to go take a look on SharePoint, have at it. And that's it. We don't need to bring it up here. And if the council member says went through it, because now we're aware that there has been a change, we go through it on our own time. And questions arise, then that council member can bring it up to the clerk that it needs to be discussed at council. I think that's a good happy medium. I'm just throwing it out there. Like I just had this idea. Okay. I don't know about you guys. What do you think? Qu'est-ce que vous pensez de ça?
Ben, moi, je suis bien d'accord avec ça aussi. Puis je suis bien d'accord avec Raymond. Là. Je veux dire, nous autres, notre job, si jamais quelque chose qui va mal, on devrait être capable de s'en parler. Puis le DJ tantôt de nous autres. Puis c'est là qu'on... C'est lui qui a la responsabilité, puis c'est de même ça devrait être, puis bien d'accord avec ça.
Would you guys be willing to meet us halfway type of thing? I don't know if that's halfway, but like make sure that there's a certain amount of awareness that there has been changes to policies.
Alors, en effet, comme j'ai mentionné il y a 2 semaines, il y a 2 volets. Au début de la politique, on a le tableau qui énumère tous les changements qu'on apporte au document. Et ensuite, je peux vous envoyer un avis par courriel ou par Teams, comme vous préférez, afin de vous diriger vers la politique. Il va y avoir un lien, vous pouvez cliquer, ça vous ouvre dans SharePoint pour aller consulter le document. De plus, dans la bibliothèque des politiques, vous allez voir aussi tous ceux qui sont superseded, donc les politiques précédentes. Comme ça, vous pouvez ouvrir les deux et les comparer encore si vous voulez. Et puis, tous ceux qui sont superseded suivent une rétention préétablie selon Tom Rims, qui est notre politique de gestion de documents. Okay. Donc, oui, ce serait entre les deux.
Est-ce qu'on est satisfait généralement là-dessus? Are we okay with that idea? Okay. So, I think going forward, if that could be part of the policy, I don't know if it was, but I mean, it's just to... It's just that I do understand Mr. Stewart's point as far as the awareness, right? Because if you don't know what you don't know, then you don't know what to ask. So if there's a certain amount of awareness that we can have, if it takes a couple minutes and then it's shared, then ultimately it's up to us to choose if we want to go and look and read and go through those. And if there's just questions that arise from that, to bring it up. Fait que je pense que si on est satisfait avec ça, puis avec le changement apporté,
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. Yes, definitely. We, I mean, we'll have to, we'll be putting an internal communications policy in place at one point in time.
Right.
So we'll make sure in there how to, we'll iterate how we communicate the changes to members of council so that whoever comes after us knows exactly what the policy is and how to move forward. So,
because we are responsible to inform people. I mean, I've had, from being councillor now mayor, I've had many people come up to me and ask questions. I don't know the answer, but I know where to get the answer. So sometimes that there is maybe the approach, because I don't know everything. Obviously, there's so much to know here, and
I'll just clarify as well, Mr. Mayor. I don't know everything either. That's why I have an amazing team with me. And when a resident reaches out to ask me something, if I'm not informed, I put them in touch with the right person. And if there's follow up, I always saw my role as an elected official to be the bridge between the administration and the public. And I treat that the same way. If I speak with a member of the public or a member of council, I don't have the answers. I go to the right person as well. So I think it's just having that open communication. But I think it's acceptable for anybody, whether it's an elected official or a member of staff, not to have the answer. It's just the willingness to get the answer that's important for the citizens. So.
Yeah, and like I said, as long as whatever changes are made, they're noted, and then after it's our own personal responsibility to choose to go and look into, and if needed, that further discussion is needed, then bring it up. To not, that's our responsibility, I think. Oui.
Est-ce que SharePoint, ça représente des dépenses pour notre municipalité? Non.
Je pense pas.
Alors, SharePoint est inclus dans nos licences de Microsoft qu'on paie annuellement de toute façon. C'est une raison principale pour qu'on ait fait le move le système de gestion qu'on avait à SharePoint. Les coûts qu'on a cette année, c'est juste pour l'implémentation de nos pages.
Okay.
And how much extra work would that cause?
Pour vous envoyer les mises à jour?
Ouais.
Minimum, c'est un courriel. Parce qu'une fois que je l'ai, j'ai juste à copier le lien et vous l'envoyer par courriel. Donc.
Okay. So we won't be sitting here budget time saying we need extra staff for the extra work? Thank you.
Est-ce que je peux lire la résolution?
Oui.
Je pense que je suis encore... Alors, qu'il soit résolu que le Conseil accuse réception des politiques suivantes, la politique de recrutement, le POL HR 3-2025, mise à jour, la politique d'image professionnelle et tenue vestimentaire, le POL HR 04-2025, la mise à jour de la nouvelle politique de surveillance électronique des employés, le POL AD 01-2025. Qu'il soit également résolu que les politiques sur le recrutement, la tenue vestimentaire, déjà approuvées par le Conseil, seront désormais reconnues comme des documents opérationnels sous la gestion du directeur général. Qu'il soit aussi résolu que la politique de surveillance électronique soit également gérée de façon administrative. Et en dernier lieu, qu'il soit résolu que le Conseil conserve le droit de demander une révision ou une mise à jour de ces documents en tout temps. Proposé par...
Monsieur Fogg, Monsieur Lalonde. I just have a further question and a comment. Getting back to the word equitable, can we make it on merit? Like I want to have that word and that concept in there, please. What? It needs to be defined that it's based on merit as well. Because the sous-entendu, I don't know how to say that in English. Maybe as someone's reading that, it's maybe not sous-entendu, but I really want that to be quite evident, please.
We could simply ask that ensure fair, merit-based, and equitable hiring practices.
I like that.
If that's simply change that,
Yeah,
that's okay.
please.
It's also in there, the same language in the Schedule B, or what is it? Attachment B, 4.2. publication of the job offer. So that language is in there also, fair and equitable.
Yeah, merit-based.
I would change any of those if we could to merit-based.
Like, I think adding merit, not necessarily changing, but adding.
Yeah, so just if we look at attachment B, that was the 2017 policy. That's the one we're replacing. So,
Okay, so.
we're not going to change back. I mean, equitable is found in the Municipal Act itself.
No,
so
I understand. Like I said, it's a weaponized word now, and I just want to make sure that we make it obvious that it's merit-based.
So once this is approved, I'll be able to make that change. I won't have to bring it back to council. So we'll be good to go.
Right, perfect. Okay, okay, I think we have our first, okay. Tout le monde est d'accord? Okay.
Alors, je crois que c'est moi pour le prochain. OK. Alors, pour mon item, je voulais juste vous amener une note de service pour discuter un peu des pouvoirs des mains forts qui nous ont été donnés le mois dernier. Alors, ces pouvoirs-là ont rentré en effet le 1er mai. Dans le rapport que vous aviez devant vous, je parle un peu de le survol des pouvoirs que M. le maire a maintenant sous le Strong Mayors Act et le Municipal Act. Donc, ceci, c'est pour avancer les priorités de la province, d'ailleurs, de construire 1,5 million d'unités résidentielles par le 31 décembre 2031 et pour soutenir l'infrastructure pour ces constructions-là. Alors, dans le rapport, je mentionne qu'il y a maintenant le pouvoir de nommer ou de retirer le directeur général, les chefs de département. Il peut créer des comités et nommer les présidents. Toutes ces décisions doivent être influencées par les priorités provinciales. Il peut également faire un veto sur des règlements que le Conseil passe et du même volet, apporter des sujets à la table et des règlements qui peuvent soutenir les priorités provinciales. De là, il a aussi la responsabilité de présenter le budget. Le processus est énuméré ici. Je vous ai aussi inclus 2 bubble charts qui vous expliquent un peu le processus parce que ça peut être un peu compliqué, surtout avec les différents votes. Donc, je suis ici pour répondre à des questions si vous en avez. Et entre-temps, si je vois qu'il y a des formations qui soient offertes par soit l'AMO, peu importe, je vais vous le transmettre si vous êtes intéressé aussi.
Questions, commentaires, ce que c'est qui a été présenté?
Could you repeat that in English?
Oh, absolutely.
Please.
Okay, so we received a letter from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing last month to tell us that we were one of 170 municipalities given the strong mayor powers under the Municipal Act. This was an initiative to advance provincial priorities, which is to build 1.5 million homes by December 31st, 2031, and to support infrastructure, so constructing and maintaining infrastructure to support housing, transit, roads, utilities, and servicing. Of the powers Mr. Mayor now has is the ability to appoint or dismiss the CAO, to hire and dismiss any division heads, which is just a caveat that's not really defined in the Municipal Act, so we're thinking director level. He can also create committees and appoint chairs and vice chairs. He has the power to veto and override bylaws that council passes. He can also bring a matter to the table and force a vote. So if he were to, let's say, bring a matter to the table and force a vote, he would only require 1/3 of votes, and he is allowed to vote as well. For the vetoing process, I included a bubble chart because it could be kind of complex, but ultimately he can veto a bylaw that council adopts. Council can override the veto with a 2/3 vote where he is allowed to vote as well. One of the other powers that he has is the budget. It is now the mayor's budget for which council members can ask amendments, and then the mayor can veto or approve those amendments, after which council has a override process, again, 21 days after that. The mayor can delegate certain powers by signing municipal directives. So he can delegate the power to appoint the CAO back to council. He can also delegate the power to hire division heads either to council or to the CAO. He can also redelegate the power to create committees and appoint their chairs back to council. And For transparency purposes, all of these will be done in writing and submitted to me, the clerk, and whatever directive or decision he gives me, I transmit by the next business day back to council. If I can go ahead for the mayor decisions that he signed today, he has redelegated the power to appoint the CAO back to council. He has delegated the power to hire division heads to the CAO in consultation with the council as a whole. Delegated the power to create committees back to council, and that's pretty much it. He can't delegate the budget powers unless he forfeits it by February 1st of that year. I think that about covers it. Any questions?
Thank you.
I know it's a lot.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for transparency, even though the mayor has delegated those powers to myself or to council, he can always change his mind and take it back.
That's true.
Right. So just you know, it's a goodwill gesture, if you will, and he's delegating those. But he would, you know, you can't legislate that away. He can't permanently give it away. He always has that ability to do what he wants. So.
To build on that, there are no limits as to how many times he can go back and forth, and that there's no oversight technically to oversee these decisions that he makes, albeit that he is still under the mandate of the Conflict of Interest Act and the Integrity Commissioner. I think that's it.
Right, so I want to comment.
For sure.
Ça a toujours bien été ici. Puis je vois aucun bénéfice que tout soit délégué à moi. Ça a toujours été un travail d'équipe. On est très fort ici. We always have good discussions. We don't always agree. We don't always, but that's what democracy is. And I think if it's not broke, why are we fixing it? I have no intentions on changing anything in the way we run here. We do things in a respectful manner. Our employees, our staff are wonderful. Things are cohesive, so I like the status quo. I always say boring is good. If you watch a hockey game and you don't realize the referee's there, it means he did a good job. And if we can continue on the way we're going, on va continuer. Fait que moi, j'ai aucune intention de faire n'importe quel changement à la manière qu'on gère nos affaires comme celle-là. Oui.
While I do have to send you his mayor decision and directives, because he can also direct staff to do certain things, all of them will be also published on our website. So if you go under our agendas and minutes page, there will be a section for the mayor powers, where all of the MDEs, the municipal decisions, or the MDIs, the mayor directives, will be published, and you can see the ones that he has signed.
And juste pour ajouter aussi, quand ça va venir au budget, je pense que c'est une question de procédure que ça va peut-être changer, mais nothing changes. It is only procedurally there's something that needs to be changed, but we do things well here. And again, it's done always with the utmost respect, and nothing is broken here. We don't have to fix anything. We have a great environment, so nothing is going to change. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, on behalf of the administration, thank you for the direction you're taking on this. It makes things much easier as an administration to continue in the way we have been going, and we will continue to do our utmost best abilities to serve council. Merci.
Thank you.
Autre question ou la résolution, ça vous va? Oui, OK. Alors qu'il soit résolu que le Conseil reçoive à titre d'information le rapport REPC 05-2025 concernant les pouvoirs du maire fort, proposé par
M. Lalonde, M. Fogg, tous d'accord? Correct.
Parfait. Alors, le prochain est l'item 8.9 qui est pour la demande venant du Limoges Recreational Committee.
Donc, bonsoir. Nous avons eu une demande du Limoges Recreation Committee pour leur aider côté gestion de bar. Si, dans le passé, c'était la récréation qui s'en occupait pour une vieille entente de 2010, qui avait un groupe municipal. C'était la municipalité qui s'occupait du bar, puis l'entente a continué à y aller. L'année passée, lorsque j'ai présenté le rapport que les profits retournent à la communauté, le Conseil a demandé de l'année prochaine apporter ceci au Conseil pour être approuvé par le Conseil, puisque ceci est des ressources municipales que nous utilisons pour aider le groupe. C'est quand même beaucoup. Le permis d'alcool doit être cherché pour un coût de 300 à 400 $. Ceci va être sous le nom de la direction, donc mon nom, donc je suis légalement responsable si quelque chose arrive dans cet événement-là. Puis ça environ 25 heures là, à peu près que ceci est... ça prendrait des employés. Donc ces 25 heures-là, c'est à quelque part que les employés ne sont pas dans les parcs pour faire des réparations, dans les complexes sportifs, ainsi de suite. Donc c'est juste à être considéré. Puis plus ceci est une donation in kind, puis c'est le temps, on donne le temps des employés à ce groupe. Ma recommandation, ce serait, si nous allons devant avec servir un bar, c'est de prendre un montant d'argent du Community Engagement Fund. D'après la politique, ces montants-là, plus in kind, devraient venir des donations du Conseil, puisque le 20 000 qui est mis dedans, le budget, c'est pour seulement des réservations de salles, le 50 % des réservations de salles. Mais vous pouvez certainement faire un ajustement à la politique. Mais c'est ce que je présente à vous. Puis on n'est pas obligé d'aller devant à servir le bar non plus. Si un autre comité comme le Festival du Club Médicanor demande, eux autres font leur propre bar. Donc le Club Optimiste s'occupe, vont chercher leur permis d'alcool, puis les autres qui le font eux-mêmes. Donc c'est à la décision du Conseil.
Je vais déléguer un peu la parole aux deux conseillers du coin, là. C'est quoi les discussions à l'interne? Ils ont besoin de l'aide pour cette année? C'est quoi Est-ce que c'est quelque chose qu'ils penses-tu d'être capable de s'organiser assez pour cette année? Ou est-ce que c'est trop tard dans le game?
Je pense que cette année, oui, c'était quelque chose qui cherchait à avoir de l'aide. Écoute, on en a parlé à notre dernier meeting la semaine passée. Mais écoute, j'avais pas nécessairement vu les numéros non plus comme avant mon meeting puis maintenant. Est-ce que ce serait possible de me donner jusqu'à notre prochain meeting pour aller discuter avec eux? On va quand même avoir un mois. Du 26, c'est notre prochain meeting, puis ça va être le 21. Juste jaser avec eux s'il y aurait d'autres alternatives.
Juste curiosité, ça prend quand même longtemps avoir ton permis d'alcool?
J'ai besoin de 30 jours. Donc, le 26, ce serait un petit peu trop tard. Ça, c'est pourquoi il y a un addendum pour aujourd'hui, pour donner assez de temps là, d'être capable de pouvoir passer à travers les procédures.
Yes.
Une question pour M. Lafrance, puis je ne sais pas si vous avez la réponse. Je ne sais pas combien d'alcool qui est vendu à cet événement-là. C'est-tu quelque chose qui est, tu sais, si tu as 10 000 de vente d'alcool, c'est certain que tu veux l'avoir là, mais si c'est 100 $, tu sais, c'est prendre en considération ça. Je ne sais pas si tu avais les...
J'ai un ballpark. Donc, les profits de l'année passée étaient 172 et 77 dans mon rapport, mais on a vendu pour 1100. Donc, si tu fais à 6 le breuvage ou la bière, donc je vais faire la maths ici. C'est environ 200 bières qu'on vend le vendredi soir et samedi toute la journée.
Ça, c'était dans le fond après avoir payé le staff.
C'est le temps de payer l'année passée, c'était juste le temps qui servait le bar. Donc, pas à cause des législations, on doit avoir des clôtures mises à certains endroits spécifiques, aller chercher l'alcool au LCBO avec le permis du SOP, faire la demande du SOP, faire des suivis, répondre aux questions. Donc, ça, c'est peut-être 25 heures. Il y a 19 heures de servage au bar, mais c'est 25 heures, c'est inclus tout le setup. Tout ça.
C'est là qu'on... Les groupes communautaires vont être obligés de se reprendre en main un peu parce qu'on voit ça comme... on voit ça à Saint-Albert, on voit ça comme... That's where these groups are going to have to start jumping in on their own there now. Because we're asking other communities to do so, and this is a perfect example where they could start pitching in, and je pense que c'est là.
Absolument.
Fait que je sais, cette année, là, c'est tight fit, là, mais si mettons, à soir, on décide que c'est un an, puis eux autres, ils vont avoir assez le temps de faire l'application, puis tout comme...
Okay. C'est un mois, donc l'application, ils font leur compte en ligne. C'est 300 $ pour appliquer. Puis une fois qu'ils ont leur numéro d'SOP, il faut juste acheter l'alcool avec le numéro du SOP.
What's your opinion, guys? I know this is tight there, but
I feel like I would need to chat with them, but I mean, if that's what we're doing across the board and we're not doing it for any other event.
Well,
then
I think that's where we're headed, right? We've had this
it is what it
conversation
is,
multiple
it is what it
times,
is,
and
but-
there's already 2-3 communities that are on their way of doing it, and they're neck deep.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's very fair for us to say, look, you know, this is where you guys need to start chipping in and jumping on board.
Mr. Mayor, if I can jump in here.
Yeah.
So last year we were short staffed. I had to go and serve, and throughout the time the bar was open, they were selling pop right beside me the whole night.
Right.
So they did have someone at the same hours. I just don't think the responsibility and the unknown, if not the SOPs and all that stuff, which I'm willing to help them go through if they do need some help, which might scare them and ask for municipal help.
Okay.
I'll talk to them tonight.
Yeah, I think the sooner the better. And then after that, maybe share that information with us as far as what direction we're taking, and then, because I don't think our staff is not willing to help, but I think there's a certain point where, like I said, we're encouraging people to start getting a little bit more involved, and this is a perfect example of what that looks like, you know. Il y a des événements un peu partout que c'est tous eux autres qui le font eux autres mêmes. Quand je vais utiliser Saint-Albert, la barre, là, les pompiers, bon ben, c'était eux autres qui allaient chercher leurs affaires. Les pompiers servaient la boisson eux autres mêmes. Tout l'argent a été redonné à l'association des pompiers. Fait que c'est un peu un exemple de ça. C'est un peu la norme un peu tout partout. OK?
Alors, est-ce que nous voulons passer une résolution ce soir?
Est-ce qu'on a besoin de le passer à soir? Well, I guess so. We need a decision, right? OK. So, yeah.
OK. Alors, juste me donner une direction.
Ben,
Est-ce qu'on veut
que,
contact the group tonight?
ouais, je pense que envoyer un employé pour servir, c'est un nom, mais on va lui supporter à travers tout le processus. Est-ce que c'est quelque chose...
Comme par exemple l'installation des clôtures ou leur aider avec leur...
Ouais.
Être assis avec eux autres pendant qu'ils
Le setup
appliquent pour le
de
permis.
l'événement, on peut aider,
C'est ça.
mais servir la boisson puis avoir quelqu'un présent pour 19 heures de temps, là, c'est plus... I think we're out of that game.
Les aider à comment, pour le permis puis tout ça, comment ça fonctionne, ça, je trouve que ça fait du sens.
Ouais.
So perhaps the wording could be that council gives the direction to the administration on how to proceed, that we give assistance if they wish to get their own SOP and support them in that endeavor. Nice and
That's good
simple.
wording. OK.
Be it resolved that council directs the administration to support the Limoges Recreation Committee with the special occasion permit application process if required. Comme ça. Ça vous va?
Correct avec ça.
Proposé par?
Dan, Monsieur Bienvenu, OK, Mr. Stewart, tous d'accord? OK, c'est passe, OK.
All right. Le prochain, c'est le règlement.
OK,
Je vais vous lire la résolution. Be it resolved that the bylaws listed below be read and adopted in first, second, and third reading as presented. Bylaw 2725, the council remuneration, as amended to remove section 8 regarding the committee meeting per diem and reformatting the numbers accordingly. Bylaw 74, 2025, to amend the delegation of authority bylaw 18, 2024. And bylaw 76, 2025, to authorize a contract with GFL Environmental. Proposé par?
Monsieur Fogg, Monsieur Bienvenu, tous d'accord? OK, ça passe tout.
Alors, nous sommes au point 14.1, l'édition pour les inquiétudes pour le projet BESS à
OK. Mr. Stewart,
Yeah, thank you. So I've been getting a few calls and encounters with concerned local residents concerning the new North Glengarry BESS, or battery energy storage system, so a large lithium battery storage. People are concerned about potential fire hazards and fire risks and dangers to our first responders, and that we're trained and we have plans to deal with this, and also concerns as far as emergency plans to how we would communicate with the citizens if there was a fire and a prevailing wind blowing, towards homes and toxic gas, and how we would communicate, and do we have a plan like that in place to deal with something like that. So I mentioned to them that I would pass the concerns on to our fire chief and let the expert respond. Thank you.
Bonsoir à tous, Monsieur le Maire. Councillor Stewart, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right. So keeping in mind that the Norgary response is primarily their approach, we're in mutual agreement, whether it's this one or any large-scale emergencies. Emergencies of that nature are usually well-known, well-established. We have procedures in place. Having said that, we understand the threat related with lithium batteries, the new threat that has been emerging. Everyone has seen videos online. So the training is real, has been taken part. We're doing training on EVs as an example, hybrid vehicles. Measured response in this also has to be understood that these facilities are extraordinarily well protected. So as a response may take place, it's a tier approach. So depending how the emergency would evolve, more resources are brought into this. Now, a key point that you made up, and it's one of that is a top of mind when it comes down to chemicals that may actually be released in the air, whether it's that type of fire, whether it's a hazardous material on the 417. Wind shifting direction is always taking place. So if an evacuation or stay in place would have to be thought of course, the municipalities and all the resources in place related to communication, you might have seen this in the past. Organizations stand up quite immediately to send, so lift up or leverage the local medias. I've even seen having police department actually or sending an order to stay in place. So depending what the threat is. So that's usually the response. And I can assure you on the training side for your first responder, we're working towards this. So it's cyclical. Every emergency is slightly different, but the basis rest to be the same.
Okay, right on. Thank you. Do we do the alertable? Is that our system here? So maybe that's a chance to, if anybody's listening, to make sure you're signed up to the alertable system, and that's our best way to communicate in an emergency.
Right.
So
the emergency response would kick in, right? The municipality, because this is, again, depending where the wind is, that's a scale, and usually those are already in place. At some point, the on-scene commander would make the decision.
Right on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oui.
J'ai assisté à la dernière réunion qui a eu lieu à Alexandria la semaine dernière, que la compagnie a présenté le projet à la population. Il y a vu beaucoup de tests ou de gens qui emmènent toutes sortes de tests, qui viennent de l'Europe ou qui viennent. Il y a beaucoup de différentes compagnies de batteries aussi, puis ça dégage toutes sortes de choses, mais il y a beaucoup de gens qui sont vraiment en contre parce qu'il y avait presque, je vous dirais, près de 200 personnes dans la salle. Puis c'est approuvé depuis 1 an et demi, ça, puis les poteaux sont déjà plantés depuis la semaine dernière. Puis 2 jours après, il y a des gens qui ont passé, qui ont tout arraché les poteaux. C'est déjà... ça bardasse déjà. Ça fait que c'est à peu près ça. Il y a beaucoup de contestations, mais je pense que le projet va aller de l'avant.
OK. D'autres commentaires? Questions? OK, thank you. OK.
Bienvenue.
Est-ce que les membres du Conseil ont des annonces pour les thèmes 16?
Aucun.
Any announcements?
Non.
Parfait. Alors, on peut retourner en huis clos pour terminer les 2 autres sujets. Donc, juste pour clarifier pour les personnes à la maison, le huis clos de plus tôt aujourd'hui, c'était pour aborder seulement qu'un sujet et maintenant, on doit aborder les 2 autres. Donc, je vais nous mettre en huis clos. Alors, qu'il soit résolu que la présente assemblée soit ajournée à 19h14 pour une session à huis clos conformément aux sections suivantes à la loi municipale de 2001. La section 239.2b, renseignement privé, C, litige actuel ou éventuel et K, portant une négociation. Proposé par
Monsieur Mainville, Monsieur Fogg, tous d'accord? OK. Welcome back, everybody.
Oh, OK, parfait.
OK.
Alors, je vais juste modifier où est-ce que j'étais. Alors, qu'il soit résolu que la présente assemblée soit rouverte à 20h03, proposé par.
Monsieur Mainville, Monsieur Forgue, tous d'accord? Parfait.
Parfait. Alors, pour tous les 3 items, le Conseil a donné des directives au Conseil. Ensuite, j'ai le Confirming Bylaw, qu'il soit résolu que le règlement 77-2025 pour confirmer les procédures du Conseil à sa réunion ordinaire le 12 mai 2025 soit lu et adopté en première, deuxième, troisième lecture, proposé par.
Monsieur Lalonde, Monsieur Stewart.
Parfait. Alors, la prochaine réunion tombe le 20 mai, si je ne me trompe pas, pour le plan stratégique. Cette réunion sera virtuelle. Donc, les gens à la maison peuvent nous rejoindre en écoutant la chaîne YouTube et nous tous sur Teams. Et ensuite, la prochaine réunion publique tombe le 26 mai. Alors, tous les items étant découlés, la réunion est terminée à 20h15. Merci.
Merci.